Call Waste Management Monitoring Committee meeting to order. Roll call.
Marv Wolf,
Here.
Harvey Schweitzer,
Here.
Abby Litke,
Here.
Litke, Roland Kiefer,
Here.
Melvin Hebron,
Here.
William Thays,
Here.
Belinda is not here, Sudarshan Sharma,
Yep.
Joe Spear,
Here.
Brad Baberkin,
Here.
and Madeline is not here.
Also in attendance, we have, I forget your name?
Michaela?
Michaela.
From Waste Facilities.
Yep.
And-
Okay,
And,
Alice Wolf from residents,
And Kate.
and
Stephen Van Gotham at Champions Village.
and I'm Katie Rivedal, passing the torch on to Amy Schluter, our new secretary.
Oh,
So
Are you
I'm
retired?
retiring.
Yeah.
I retired in June from City Hall, and Amy gladly has taken over, so I'm here to just nudge her along and say goodbye.
kicking me, she's just, go on. The agenda was posted in accordance with the open meeting law.
Okay. We'll move on to item 2. Approval of minutes from meeting of May 2nd. Everybody should have got the minutes in there.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, we got a motion. Anybody got a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move on to item 3. Approval of minutes from special meeting of June 20th, 2024.
I moved to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Who seconded
Yeah.
it, if you don't mind? Sudarshan? Okay, thank you.
We'll move on to item 4, public comment period, maximum of 15 minutes. 2 minutes per person. Go ahead.
Okay, I didn't know if you were.
Yep.
I'll introduce myself. My name is Stephen Van Gotham, and I'm the president of the board of directors in Champions Village. And we're southeast of the landfill. And I would say probably for the last,
Northeast.
northeast, excuse me, northeast, sorry about that. I would say probably for the last 3 months, the smell coming from the landfill, we thought it was Muskego. Called them on the table, and they were very responsive and said, no, everything's fine, it's coming from waste management. We have 200 homeowners that are in the subdivision, and we get a lot of complaints. We've had people that are showing their homes, and they smell it, and it's not occasionally, it's frequently. And from what we were told is that it's basically a technique or a policy that the landfill is actually not covered at certain periods of time. But if I may ask, is anybody living very close to the northeast of the landfill? Or is everybody
Southeast.
further away?
South. I'm southeast.
Southeast.
Has anyone taken the time when the wind comes out of the southeast to go northeast to see what the difference is?
I can smell it once in a great, I don't think I haven't smelled it in a year.
Well, it's the same for us, but all of a sudden, in the last 3 to 4 months, Eileen Madden is a friend of mine, but she's also in the Common Council in the city of Muskego. And
Now, are you sure it is garbage smell that you're getting? It's not sewer smell?
it's garbage
Because-
smell.
Is it methane smell? Is
I know
it?
it's not methane, it's a stench. It's.
Well,
it
methane
smells like-
is rotten eggs.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's actually, I'm sorry. Methane doesn't have odor. I always want to correct that because,
Okay.
so the landfill gas is made up of methane, water vapor, and the rest of the atmosphere, and then a very trace amount of chemicals that we can smell that thankfully smell awful because that keeps us from eating it. H2S is one of those. H2S is also what shows up in the sewer.
Okay.
Garbage, in and of itself, has more of a sickly sweet smell, like the way your trash can smells in your
Right,
kitchen.
and that's what it smells like. Last week I was swimming, and I got nauseous. It was that bad.
When we get to my and Brad's report, we were going to discuss it, because we have talked about it.
Well,
And there
the-
have been an increase in odor complaints.
Okay. Yeah, the best way to,
Champion, that's,
it's right over here.
Oh, it's Muskego Lakes.
It's like, that's why if the wind,
Muskego Lakes Country Club.
watch
right?
your weather reports,
Muskego Lakes Country Club.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's-
Oh, so it is
So
back
they have
over
one.
here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So that's,
So
My
Yeah,
first
well-
time here is I looked.
Yeah, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Don't
over.
pass on down.
Because I was, I was,
Directions, okay.
I was picturing over here, the new subdivision on 112th and Ryan, that's what, or,
Well, I would,
no, when he said northeast, he's northwest.
He's northwest.
I don't know what the scan would
Okay.
be for how it travels, but all I know is that as soon as that wind travels or switches to the southeast or south, we get it. Automatically, especially at night. Night's probably the worst. And I don't know if that's the policy of Waste Management to leave the cover off of it during the evening. But all I can say is if you would, watch the weather report and see where the wind's coming out of the southeast and just drive over there and just park on the street and you can see what we are dealing with.
Okay, now, there was several times over the years that I'd get out of the pickup right here at the front door. Man, does that smell? I
Cattails.
look up at the flag and that flag, well, it's not here because it's over here, and if the wind's blowing that way, yep, it's coming over there. So you might want to do a double check with GFL over there to make sure it is not them.
Already did. So, I mean, I've been the board president for 12 years. I've been in our subdivision for 21. And I have worked with the city of Muskego, and we had an issue probably, was it a year ago, Harvey?
Yeah.
Where there was problems capping off some of the escape vapor or whatever you want to call it. And they worked with us. They said, we're on it. They're trying to figure it out, and they got it capped, and it went away. And then all of a sudden, now we're getting a lot of, heavy smell from, and we were told by the city of Muskego that it's not GFL, it's Waste Management. And that's why I was told, go to the open meeting, voice your concern, let them know what's going on, and hopefully address it, and then if not, we have to take an
So
additional
what
step.
I would say is prevailing wind is typically going in this direction, and I haven't had any, or it's in the opposite direction of where you guys are at, and I haven't had any odor complaints from that direction at all. What we do here currently, we just put in 7 new gas wells, which I'm gonna cover on that for gas extraction, which would help with odors. We also do surface emission monitoring every quarter, where we can walk the whole entire hill with a methane monitor, and anything over 500 ppm we do correction active on to make sure that we correct any gas odors or emissions we do have. I'm not going to say from time to time we won't take a waste stream that would potentially stink and could blow, but that would typically be during the day, and we'd be in the process of covering that up as soon as we can.
So you're telling me that at this juncture for Waste Management, you don't cover, you do cover everything in landfill?
We're going to go up today, and you can see.
Okay. How does that compare to GFL? What are you doing different than what they're doing? Is there a difference?
I don't know what their process is, but overall they're monitoring.
They're referring to the fluff layer.
Okay.
That's,
Yeah.
you get burned all the time the way you do
Yeah.
your fluff layer.
Okay.
It's just a fact. The statute doesn't, let me rephrase that. The statute is poorly written. It appears that you don't have to cover the fluff layer. And because of the way it's written, that's the way Waste Management does it. Everybody that's over at GFL that used to work over here, that's the way they did it. So I'm saying that GFL is on the higher ground, but when it was Superior, they read it differently. They covered during the fluff layer. Your fluff layer's done, so the odor should have dropped off. You don't get the winds often enough in the right direction maybe for the comparison. But before they finish the fluff layer, which is the first layer of garbage across the new cell, which they use to protect the bottom, and they make sure it doesn't have wood they can shove through or things like that, they weren't covering, or not covering aggressively. So there may have been odors from that. But we are past that stage now, and I have been talking to Brad about cover because I was disappointed, and now he's well, it's part of your report. It's Brad's solution, not mine.
Joe, I got a question. Are they still using mulch over there for cover?
Nobody actually uses mulch for cover. It's a use for improving the travelway. So like when they need better roads, the mulch really is, it's a catch-22. It breaks down and rots just as much as the garbage does.
know it does,
So they
yeah.
try not to use it for cover. But when you need better traction, they'll add it for that.
It really boils down to quality of life and also property values. We had one homeowner that was showing and the wind shifted to the southeast, lost the deal. The homeowner said, I'm not gonna deal with that. And, you know, so I get it, occasionally it is acceptable, but I'll guarantee you, you watch your wind direction and go over to the subdivision, just stand over there, and I'll guarantee you smell it. Because it's like I smelled it for maybe about 5 minutes this afternoon. I was out with a contractor, and he looked at me and I go, I know. It wasn't that bad, but you could smell it. It's got that kind of almost minerally smell. I don't know if that's the correct term to use, but it like you said, it's sweet, but it's got a little mineral after smell to it, like your garbage container.
I think there might become an issue with time of day. If you're saying in the afternoon, I don't know what they can do to control odor.
Oh, no, I get it.
Operation.
It's at night, but it's at night. We got 200 homeowners, and they're all asking, how do we file a complaint? And I said, we'll handle it. You know, we have a global email for all 200 homeowners, so they're expecting me to get back to them as to, you know, what the results were or what the feedback was. But if you want 200 complaints, I'll get you 200 complaints. That's a no-brainer. But it's at night, more so at night, probably right at about dusk. That seems to be the most common, you know, the heavy smell that comes from the landfill. And if you want, if that helps, I can document, you know, every time that we smell it. So there's a history, but I'll guarantee you when you check the weather report and past history, the wind's coming out of the south-southeast.
Was there any complaints around over here in the last few months?
I don't really get much from Champions Village because one of the people that lives there is usually pretty quick to make sure that GFL or Waste Management hears about it. Brett's parents live there. So I usually hear from Brett when it's GFL because it makes him happy.
Well,
And,
yeah.
You know, usually hear from Brad when it's something that he addressed. So I have not gotten any complaints. And
I mean,
as far as
south,
we've had
east, north,
we've had
east,
6 complaints this year.
this year.
6 complaints total, and I split them. You know, even though one was across the street, I said it was Waste Management at the time, but 2 of the ones that were over here, I said was GFL because you can smell the auto fluff. I mean, that's the one I use as very easy determination. He doesn't use any auto fluff. If I can smell auto fluff on the air, I know which site it's coming from.
Oh, yeah.
So we've had a 6 in total for the year. I have not, this is the first I've heard of Champions Village, but I don't.
But Joe, it's also the history of us dealing with the smell. Everybody assumes because that's our landfill, that's where it must be coming. Everybody knew that there were issues, there were very serious issues from the landfill, but the association knew about it after we found out what was going on. It's just now it's resurfaced, and we know that plug's taken care of, but we were told this is where it's coming from.
Now that
So
argument, that argument doesn't hold either, because they're about to open a new cell.
Yeah,
Well, that's, that,
I'm not gonna argue one way or the other.
well,
where
it's okay,
it's
I'm
coming
just,
from, right, yeah.
I'm just,
Who was the person that said it's coming from here rather than there?
Eileen Madden, who's our common counsel.
Yeah, I
person.
know.
but who, from
She said-
GFL,
What's that?
from GFL, seeing it's coming from here instead of there.
They have
Who's
to,
the one?
according to what I was told, they were told, almost basically, they have to say that it's not coming from there, because I think, Joe, you would be on that case, right?
Right.
So, they're saying there's absolutely everything is taken care of. We were open to it, we thought we came down on GFL, but obviously, the bottom line is, something's going on. So whether it's Waste Management or CFL, all we want to do is find out what we can do together to work out
Yeah.
a resolution so it gets corrected. Then, you know, the old cliche, happy wife, happy life, well, you know, happy association, happy life. So we have a lot of people, like I said, there's a lot of people that are upset in the subdivision because the stench has been pretty strong lately. So, well, anyway.
In the last month, waste management changes should impact your odor complaints.
Hopefully
I mean,
in the case.
without like just running out in the fan and blowing it across down to Champions Village, I don't know what else to tell you. And Emerald Park, until they start taking waste in their new cell, should be okay. Now, of course, they can have their flare go down and so on, but their working face is so small that the likelihood of you smelling garbage from them is lower. It's not impossible, just lower. Their working face is very large and open because they're in the new cell, so it's that perfect comparison. But they now have more wells, so it's unlikely that you'll smell gas from here. But I really do think that the cover changes that Brad's made should impact what you're experiencing.
Okay.
And you are welcome to contact me, not only as a record keeper, but it also makes my job easier.
Well,
If I know that I've either got 200 coming at the end of the month, and it would be nice to just have.
As long as you don't mind that, because
No, not at all.
everybody will get, Joe,
Well, I can
I'll
bill
give
for
them
that.
your number or your contact, but you'll be able to have
Yep,
basically
not a problem.
a gold standard, because, like I said, there's a lot of people that wanted, but they didn't know where to voice their
The
concern.
actual process that's in the host agreement is to call the 800 number that's attached to this, and they keep a record of it. And they make sure to share it with the city, so nothing gets dropped. Brad used to have an individual that drove around, but he relocated, right? That's why you don't use him anymore?
He went up to the Dells.
Thank you.
And Amy, showed me on the Franklin website. The bottom line is, we didn't know waste, I did, but I kept it, I didn't want to tell everybody, because otherwise it'd be chaotic until we got the facts. But nobody knew, everybody assumed it's GFL and not Waste Management.
Now, it's funny you say that because people in Franklin, it's always waste management, they don't know about GFL.
100%.
Okay, so that goes both ways.
Right. Well, that's why I'm glad Joe's here, because from what I understand, from what
I
I'm taking.
serve the same purpose across the street.
Right, there's a dual, he's got dual supervision between two.
Yeah.
So if there's an issue, Joe's gonna find out. And then work with you guys. And that's all we're asking, is just like, hey, we get it, we live near a landfill, we are gonna smell stuff. It's just, let's keep it to a minimum, and if it means that, technique has to change, then so be it, but I know that's,
I would say that's our goal as well, right? So,
I'm sorry, was,
that's our
right.
goal as well, right? We don't want to impact the communities we're around. We're doing everything we can to make sure that minimize any odors. Like, we'll cover in construction, we put in 7 gas wells this last month,
Right,
so.
okay.
One thing you should be aware of, when you file a complaint, you should basically know the time, wind direction,
Oh,
and a
absolutely.
little bit about the day.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I'll put that in the global email. I said everybody, but it's like my neighbor was just driving away, and I said I was running to a meeting for waste management for the smell issue, and he goes, right away, it's like, holy crap, he said, he's in the hotel business, so he's got late, and he said it's always late evening that he smells it. So it's like, I don't know if there's a release late in the evening, but he said that's where, if the wind's blowing from the southeast, if it's coming west or north, no problem, but if it's coming out of the southeast or south, that's what we got. So thank you very much for the opportunity, I really appreciate the time to voice our concerns, and I'll leave it up to you guys to
We'll work it, check it out.
do what you need to do, but I'll keep in contact with Joe, if there's questions, and also let the association know that's the guy to send information to. And Amy, thank you very much for your help.
Of course.
And if I may, I'll dismiss myself so you guys can carry on your meeting.
We're doing a tour after this.
I got a 7 o'clock appointment.
Okay, just throw it out there.
I got a conference call Tokyo, so.
Okay.
Thank you again very much for your time. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you.
We'll move on then to financial report. Everybody should have got a copy of the financial report.
See, we got an open chair, no?
No, just need to get out. Everybody have a good night. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
take care.
Do we have a motion on the financial report?
I'll motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Financial reports passes. Under new business, Joe Spears.
Let's see, let's do the well sampling first.
Okay.
That's under contract. So we got back really good returns. I blame Katie, because she's the one who keeps making sure that I've got the right address. And
She taught me her ways, just so you know.
I'm ready.
Okay.
And so we've got, my apologies, 3 new wells. One of which, and one well that didn't get tested until the first time around in '93. It's one of those where I've got the check mark all the way up in the first column, and I'm like, I was thinking about getting rid of those columns because everybody's in it, but here's one I can actually go back in time and take a look at what's there. We still have a lot of people that, have been tested in the last 5 years and were tested last year, but their frequency is still lower than, for say, Mr. Wolf's property, where we've done him every other year. So that's how I did it. So the lowest frequency, I think, is 5 in the past 10 years, and the highest is 7, just because I had to fill it out. And I did in the thing provide not only the well I selected, but also when it was last sampled and how many times it's been sampled before. Any double stars mean it's never been sampled. So this is, I like this because we've also lost a fair number of wells to Waste Management as they buy the properties around it. Those wells fall out of the program. Mostly because then we don't have to track whether or not they demoed the structure.
Right.
It's not so much that it's their well now, it's not the program. It's more along the lines of it's their well, they may decide to do away with it, and it's not under the city's recording anymore. So we just drop it out.
Can I ask you, you said
Yeah,
that
sure.
one about since '93,
That it was sampled in '93.
and that was the last time it was sampled?
That's the only time it was ever sampled.
Okay, do you remember what the name on that was?
That's been the sheet.
Oh, I got one of them. That wasn't Venus, was it, on 92nd Street?
No, it's on the headline.
Okay, all right. Because I know he was complaining one time, well, I'd like to see
There we go.
when my...
Charles.
Okay.
Why is it always names I can't pronounce? I'm always worried I'm going to offend someone. Sobey, thank you. But Mr. Sobey, his well was sampled in '93.
Okay.
And there were a couple others where they hadn't been sampled since the '90s, but we sampled them last year. So we're up to date, but I still select them because of the frequency. A good example is the Magarich well. It's been sampled 7 times, but the last time we looked at it was 2019. So, I mean, it had a high frequency, but it hasn't been touched.
Now, what if you send letters out and some knucklehead forgets to send it back?
Well, that's all Katie's fault.
Too bad, so sad.
No,
Too bad, so sad.
okay, I just,
You mean if someone comes in late,
no, what if somebody just forgets to send it back in?
we can make sure that we do them next year.
Okay.
Or
Well,
if.
remind me
if
again
they-
on that.
I was gonna say, if they fit someone in this criteria, so like, we're talking about you.
Yeah, I forgot
So
that.
let's say,
But I ain't worried about it. I ain't worried about it. I just,
let's say the last time you've been sampled was '95, and you came to Marvin and you said, hey, I forgot about this, I'm really worried, what do I need to do to get it this year? Well, this is not set in stone, this is not controlled. This portion of our layout is not controlled by the host agreement. So Marvin can turn around and say, have you sent the information off to Davy Shed, through Brad?
No, I
And
didn't.
if we haven't, we can change it.
Okay, I'll write his name on
But
it.
if your well had been done in 2022, and you had the same panic with Marvin, I would probably politely tell Marvin that it would be easier if we didn't do your well this year, if there's just no need for it.
yeah, okay.
But if it hadn't been done a long time ago, I would want it just for the record keeping.
So we gotta make sure your name's on there for next year, Bill?
Well,
Send me an
I
email.
don't know when, I don't know when the
You can
last time
You
you...
just sell your house to Waste Management, then you don't need to worry.
Simple solution.
No, because him and I had a conversation that he told me that you're gonna be dead by that time, and I says, that's all right, you're gonna be working with Bobby on this, because I told Bobby what I wanted for it.
So there we go.
Okay, do we have a motion on the floor to approve the well sampling list?
I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Well, sampling was passed.
So we're gonna get back on schedule. So this report will be delivered in November. And I've got a new contract in. You'll notice that the contract goes from November to next August. When I wrote the contract last year and I was late and we did it in a hurry and I was trying to fix something, I didn't change the dates. I should have still made it August, so the contract would be effective. So technically, I'm going to ask you guys to pay in October so you get your discount, but it's really not due until November. Next year will be August, back the way it's supposed to be. And if you change, this means that the person who did the sampling selection is a different person than writes the report if you guys have somebody else do it. The idea that when the host agreement was written, the idea was that if you made a change, that it wasn't the same person going out that got to make the final statements. They wanted somebody new to look at the results and so on, so that you didn't have, so that first report was indicative of the new contractor. So that's why it spaces out the way it does.
Okay. Everybody has a copy of J.S. Spears Environmental
And for
Proposal.
Rolling, there's been no increase.
Thank you.
proposal for his contract. Anybody got any questions on the contract? Any comments on the contract?
What are you looking at me for? I ain't gonna comment. I know last year I did, but I'm not doing it this year.
It's the same contract that we already.
It's the same contract we've had for,
Yeah, and we've been happy, so.
I raised it from 4,500 to 500, I want to say during COVID,
yeah,
or the year after. So it's been a couple years.
at the
But-
same price.
But nothing has happened to make it more expensive. Even if I raise my rates, like for the landfill auditing, I don't think I'd raise this just because I can't, it is not, it has become very simplistic, the trending hasn't changed. If there suddenly hits, that'll change. But for right now, I'm not even wasting time trying to find the refrigerant 12. And I did leave extra in for that because when people asked me and I didn't want to turn around and say I didn't give any wiggle room for that. So but none of that's needed right now. There really is, it's just iron and sulfate, both highly expected. And the occasional person that paints their basement next to their well and gets value in it.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion to approve his contract.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
As long as there's no price increase.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Not to your God, Rolly, not to your God.
Motion passes. Okay, we'll move on. Waste management report.
So, start with correspondence. The only correspondence really right now that we have is Tony is the DNR correspondence. He checked in a little bit with the gas well installs, but he never made it out on site. And then we're also working with the DNR on wetland determinations to potentially look at what a layout would be for a future expansion. So basically, right now we are determining what's high quality wetlands and what aren't high quality wetlands yet, to just come up with a rough idea on what that might look like.
Which group at the DNR are you doing that with? The same group that did it before, that did all your other expansions, or? Is
I
it
don't
new
know
people?
who, it's a wetland group. I don't know who was,
Is Heidi in there?
no.
Okay.
So that's pretty high level, moving very, very slow, and just kind of waiting to see how that goes, to be honest, to figure out what that footprint might look like based on what wetland results come out of there. As far as construction right now, I put 5 gas wells, but it's actually 7 gas wells we put in on the NEW, which is the new hill. We are working on running vacuum lines to those right now, so I think we have 5 of the 7 hooked up at this point. Should have the rest of them hooked up hopefully by the end of next week. We also started on some infrastructure improvement projects on the old hill, working on cleaning up some leachate lines and getting rid of some old infrastructure. We did start excavation of clay from our last discussion that we had. You'll kind of see that when we go up, and we got about 50,000 yards of clay out of the cut so far. Everything's moving fairly smoothly over there. As far as site operations, we're in cell 3B yet. We're going our second pass across 3B. We've been working against a lot of rain over the last few months, and surprisingly, it's been going all right. But we didn't get any snow over the winter, but we definitely made up for it in rain over the last few months. Planning to crush a pile of stone in the back, starting. They moved the crusher in last week. It could start anywhere from tomorrow to a month from now, in my experience with crushers. And did just call for the grinding back in the residential yard because that filled up pretty quick with a few storms that came. We did get a new scanner for the residential yard. It's the same exact style. We just dropped the other one too many times where it quit working. So, other than that, overall, honestly, we haven't had any odor complaints besides the one that showed up today.
How are you addressing cover placement? Share your idea.
Which one?
The one you're having your
pictures.
boys take pictures so you don't have to argue with them?
Michaela's been taking pictures every morning of the cover that we have to ensure that we're making sure that we're covered. We got a new tarp up there about 2 weeks ago that we actually haven't pulled yet because we have enough cover material up top to cover everything with the material we have right now. So over the last few weeks, I would say cover's definitely improved and should be going forward.
When you dug the wells, your gas wells, did they cover those holes or did they leave them open at night?
They drilled all the wells in 3 days, so they fill them back in, but they definitely aren't necessarily covered at night. Yeah,
What'd you have doing?
LDP.
Oh, I'm sure it was then.
Yeah, he drilled.
They're
like,
pretty good. They carry around liner material and they put it over the hole if they don't have a chance to fill it. I mean, LDP does. I'm not saying every contractor does.
Because that, in years past, that's been a huge problem.
Problem with this. He literally drilled for 3 days, and then after that, everything would have been covered if he didn't cover it.
Yeah, but after 3 days, were they open?
No, they wouldn't open for 3 days. There was a gas crew coming right behind him.
Because it may have been your issue with these people.
Yeah, they're saying for 3 months though that there was issues. Yeah.
As we've known,
Yeah,
gas issues,
I
they
get
kind
it.
of.
We sent letters out that we were going to do gas work, but yeah, I mean,
It doesn't go that far, though,
Yeah.
does it?
I would suggest you put this guy in your mailing list. That was a great idea.
yeah, I don't disagree.
So I accuse Brad's union guys of not doing a good job covering when he wasn't here, which is what happened back in 2005. And that's when Brad told me he doesn't think that's going to be a problem because this is what he's having done. So I found that to be the most enjoyable odor complaint discussion I've ever had, because usually I'm told, oh yeah, we'll take care of it. I don't mean by Brad, I just mean generically. So,
Well, I'm sorry, but boy, does that shock me that there's that many complaints? And I didn't smell nothing.
all it takes is one night for everybody to walk outside, especially in these aversions.
But
we've been having.
that many in a row.
In the heavy air.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
2005
Yeah, well, you wouldn't
was it?
smell
okay,
it.
if the,
We haven't had a
And-
northeast wind for how long?
going that way,
That's southeast.
You need a
We've had lot of
southeast wind to go.
Northwest would have to get to PJ's house.
but
Billy's
if
house.
it's going straight east, what, I mean,
Well, then
where does the
that's-
wind usually come out of the west?
It usually-
Going that way.
This time of year.
And
that's
I don't smell nothing there. I think I'm closer there than there, well, I don't know what's right here.
Yeah, but it's not
up to
below
there,
that.
to there. But I'm shocked that there's that many complaints when I didn't smell nothing over. It's probably,
But in August 2005, we had 800 complaints, all directly east of here, where we don't even have 100 residents for everybody to complain on one night. So once the odor started as a problem, which I'm going to say is once it happens after 3 days, people just smell it. I went to a complaint with Matt Rickton when he was the engineer here, and we're in the garage of the complainant, and they're telling us how bad it smells. And there are two waste management carts there full of garbage. And even Matt doesn't look at it and say, there's your odor. No, the conditioning had happened. Odor complaints just started to spew out. So, I mean, after a certain amount of repetitism, people just experience it all the time. And when they experience it, it's always the source that they recognize, not, the logic of checking it out has dropped off.
Well, that's why, sorry to say, but is there a busted sewer pipe over there that they're smelling?
Franklin's H2S problem was all over for a while, right? Weren't you getting at the old folks' home? And
I hope they do find that busted gas pipe or sewer pipe over there, find out that's the smell, because all them 200 people can come over here and apologize to this company. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry.
here's another thing which nobody's really caught on yet. Between here and them is marshland,
Yeah.
Exactly.
okay?
I-
And quite a bit of it too, not just a little bit, which gives off methane gas and rotting odors. Okay? Now, has anybody taken that into consideration? You know,
No, because this company here has got garbage, this is where the smell comes
well,
from.
that's what I'm saying, because I've ran into this over the years. People complained up behind Pick and Save.
Yep.
And I told them, go outside your yard and look to the west. What's there? A big marshland. The methane gas was leaking into the guy's garage overnight. Yeah.
Do they have smell meters that you could take there and put one here and compare it?
That's what I was
when they
wondering, if
complain?
there's a portable spectrometer.
So I do have a toy that I really want to buy.
Well, let's open that contract up.
And I did send an email about it to all my clients. So it is a handheld device. It's made by a company that makes the big perimeter sensors. So traditionally, if you guys really thought that methane was escaping the site, you'd complain to Brad. Brad would finally have to go to his bosses and say, what do we do? And they'd say, fine, we'll get you sniffers, you put them along the perimeter, and you record it. So this company has finally taken one of the methane modules, and they do it for a whole bunch of stuff, and got it down to one that fits into their hand unit. So I would like to buy one of those, but I wanted to make sure all my clients wanted to, because some of the smaller clients want to make sure the landfill is not taking advantage of it, but at the same time, if nobody knows methane's leaking, they don't want to tell them, they don't want to end up in an adversarial position. Anyway, this device, the first half a minute, it samples the air for methane concentrations, and the next half a minute, it burns the sensor so that it can do it again. So it is a relatively high-speed sensor I can strap on my belt, drive around the community, and have an idea of gas escape. The neat thing is it's methane, so it doesn't rely on whether or not I can smell the 1 or 2% concentration of the contaminants in the gas. So I haven't pushed real hard for it. But it is such a neat device, and the other module that they're working on is TCE, which is a contaminant that I find in the field all the time that I don't want to be exposed to anymore. So I may just buy it for my own personal protection and then charge clients for it if they want to use it. But I've not stepped up and purchased it yet, but it definitely exists. It's definitely, my plan was to charge clients $85 a use, which with my administration fee makes it rate even on $100, so that I could say wouldn't be any more than $100. So for you as a client, if I go through with it, that's an increase at $2,600 a year, because I do 26 audits a year. The really exciting thing would be, without increasing any cost to you all, would be to buy the next one when I put the money together, and then leave it with Harvey, because he's behind the other landfill, and he gets complaints. Or, with anyone, with being able to leave it over a weekend and actually having live data, I can say, so-and-so walked out of his garage and, check the air and so on, and when they tell me, oh, well, I smoke, I don't care. Oh, what if I pass gas? I don't care. This is specifically for methane derived by garbage. So it's got all its indicators and so on to pick up.
What does a unit like that cost?
The classy one that would require less time for me to generate maps and so on is $7,500. The one that would require more hours of my time when I come back to the office is $15,000. So I've kind of looked at it as the best cost to you as the client is the $7,500 one. I'm not going to change what I charge you for it, but I won't have to take any extra time with it. It'll automatically produce a map of my route, and anywhere a hit occurred, I can sit it on my lap or in the dash of the truck when we go around, and again, it'll show us wherever we have a hit. So it is, that level of GPS, I think, would make it worth the cost.
Wow, so you'd just be driving around and that ping, okay, and show exactly where that smell was right then and there.
But it's only methane.
But it's not.
Right,
good.
only methane. I can get modules for H2S.
Yeah.
I think that's it for what they offer for waste right now, is the methane and H2S. But
But it's not strong.
they produce 45 to 55% methane. That's, if the gas leaks, that's what it starts at. So it starts relatively strong if you consider that, there's not even that much oxygen in our atmosphere that we're breathing.
The biggest problem I have here in the whole thing is that we went from 800 complaints one year to 6 complaints this year. Now we got one subdivision complaining.
Yes.
We haven't had
And all of a
yes.
sudden now we're going to get in a panic and order
Well-
new machines and everything for it? No, I don't think I'd be for that.
I got one question though on this. It still bothers me that there's that many complaints and they're all just coming from up there. And I'm sorry to say, but does anybody realize or really think about, they were moving dirt 24 hours a day over there.
They still
Until, I don't know
No,
if they're
that's
doing it
Not
right now.
24, but.
No, they were doing
I
24
know.
hours a day.
I remember.
Now,
Yeah.
was some of that getting stirred up now? Not that they're actually going into the garbage. They were digging, putting dirt here in front of your house, over here. They were trying to put dirt everywhere to get it out of the hole. Could that be enough to stir up wind?
Well, there's certainly
Haul
odors.
trucks
There's-
24 hours a day, running,
There's certainly odors.
getting the odor and sending it that way.
Well, it's not the wind generation. There's certainly odors in the soil, just like in the swamp. And then there's the diesel trucks. They have their own odors. But they've been done since May with the 24-hour activity.
Yeah, but when did he say that?
He said the last 3 months. I think he doesn't get a wind often enough, so he's got the last 3 months. That's why I made it very clear
Okay, it's
that Brad has made changes to this
July,
last month
August,
that should have an
May.
effect.
right?
I think what we need to do is just let
June,
Joe and
May.
Brad and myself monitor it close for,
They-
between now and November when we meet again, and come back with a report then.
When GFL flooded, they came with huge complaints, and Brett was on the other side. He knew exactly what was wrong because he had left just before it happened.
Yeah,
So, but they never did what I wanted them to. They never did come forward and register all those complaints. They got the answer they wanted, and the corrective action occurred, and the complaints just disappeared, which I really can't complain about. I mean, in terms of record keeping, when they're all done, they want to dump those 200 complaints on your committee. That's pretty shitty after they didn't do it across the street. But I don't have control in the
I understand.
It doesn't sound like
At least we're aware of it though.
It doesn't sound like he wants to give you 200 complaints. He just wants to not have any more complaints.
Well, that's what we're gonna have to monitor and see what's really going on.
But I still stand on this. Over the years, wind's blowing right across the road. I look at the flag, man, is that smell? Well, it's not coming from here if the wind is pointing east.
I know what
It's
you're
coming
saying,
from
Bill,
there.
because I used to get the complaints sent right to the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, didn't you
And
get a
I
new
jump in
number
a truck.
just for that?
Huh?
I'm sorry, didn't you get a new phone just for that?
Yeah, I got a
Did that-
phone I'm carrying,
Yeah,
just for that.
Did that not end up on a website or something?
Yeah, it's on the website.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is I'd respond. And I'd go out, they know, I went out and looked. If there was something there, well, like I found garbage. That wasn't ours. Or no odor at all. But between our site and their site is a swampland. So where do I get the odor? I go down 112, don't smell nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
Go farther down Oakwood and I smell it. Well, then you start backtracking from our place to the site, and I got a marsh in between it.
You'd be surprised if you got a subdivision of 200 people, you might have 6 people that really complain, and all of a sudden it got everyone stirred up.
Exactly.
Right, yeah,
And all of a sudden you got 200 complaints
Yeah.
from 6.
right.
And so, yeah, is there a problem? Yeah, maybe there is a problem over there, but when there's a southwest wind going that way, I'm definitely going to be parked in Champion Village and,
Yes.
Right.
and take some smell.
What I'm gonna
testing.
look at is getting an aerial map between here and Champion Village. you know, and just look at what we have between here and there as far as wetlands
Yeah.
and stuff like this to
And I personally know some people that live in Champion Village, and I will be questioning them.
Yep. And there's all the rural area, the fields that get stuff sprayed or spread upon them as well.
Mm-hmm, right.
I mean, I love people that, you know, literally watch the pig waste truck go by and then complain about the smell. If you waited a little
Marvin.
longer, just
Since you have that phone specific for that, could you get your number to this Stephen? And then when he gets a complaint, then you could,
Yeah.
personally, you could
It's on
go
the,
and check
it's
it
on the
out.
website. Our website is
Well,
our
obviously-
website.
I've directed him to the website.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't sound like he picked up on that.
Well, I told him, if you aren't able to make it, feel free to, here's the order complaint, this is
You're
where you
bad
go.
people.
Yeah.
You smell.
Eileen already gave me my number and email, so I don't know why I haven't heard from him. I mean, because when I asked him if he needed anything, he said, no, he
Okay.
got it, so he could have started earlier.
Okay, then, do we have a motion to accept Brad's report?
I'll motion.
A second?
Time he did something.
I will second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I-
Okay, we'll move on to item 7, comments of miscellaneous business authorized by law. Any comments?
Yeah.
Not here, none, we'll move on. Next scheduled meeting is November 7th, 2024. Okay, we'll move on from that.
That meeting's gonna be at the City Hall?
Yes, at
sir.
City Hall,
Okay.
okay? We will adjourn, Bill?
We went over that, or we skipped it over, but there was one thing I did want to tell Harvey. Harvey, since you sit on that committee over there, tell them to clean the road. They got a lot of track out, coming out of that gate, going north. It's not his dirt. Trust me, I sweep the road. That is his track out. Sorry to say, I already told Brad I'm getting sick of it. I'm gonna stop when I get to the entrance, pick the broom up, come back.
I guess that's your prerogative. I do know, the only thing I know that they do, and it's like once a month, they say they clean the street.
I never seen him out there.
Well, once a month isn't much of a thing when you're.
No.
No, not with that much traffic in and out.
And there's days when it gets wet over there, and they're bringing stone in for a lot of dump trucks coming out. And the same ones that are going in with stone when they're putting stone down. They were dragging mud out. Now, it's not really fair to him that they're dragging the mud out, and that's your side of the road.
Yeah, I can give Dan, give him a call.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention that.
They've been,
Well, it
they're
goes,
good. I
it
mean,
goes
if there's
back
a
to this
complaint,
committee.
they'll take care of it.
Yeah. They are good, but it goes back to this committee. Marvin made a deal, and with Mark, sorry, and then Jay wouldn't uphold it. But the manager over here at that time did, so that's why you're technically committed to three days a week. But it was supposed to be balanced, but they never could get Warzynski to agree. You might be able to get Osberger to do that. He seems to be a little nicer.
I know him too.
Yeah.
Hey,
But I mean, you did work very hard to get the two. We had our apples, oranges discussion about host agreements and behavior, and Hackney agreed to he agreed to the one extra, and then Slocum and a couple others came over to the meeting and agreed it was a good idea, and then Jay said no and just walked out. It was the most undiplomatic thing I'd ever seen.
It was end of story.
Yeah. But for the most part, you guys have been committed to do 3 times a week ever since, and have stayed pretty close to it.
Pretty much doing every day right now,
Yeah.
sometimes twice a day.
Well, but you don't have Walsh going through right now, right?
Not this week.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Number 9,
apologize
adjournment.
for that.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion that one since I screwed everybody over on that last
Do I have a
time.
second?
I'll second.
Yeah, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, number 10, tour of the landfill. So all those wanting to go on tour,
Got a giant